Brooklyn with my family.
Nice.
How
Excellent.
about you?
Yeah, we're right here in New
Yeah, we're right
Jersey.
here in New Jersey.
All right, well, the recording is officially on here, guys, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We got a lot to cover tonight, but a lot of it will be interactive as well, similar to last week, and then I'll shut it down on some levels. And let me just, I think, Bobby, let me try again here. Okay. For some reason, Bob, I think that yours
There are
has a little
8 other
feedback.
callers on the call. Bob, I think that yours has a little feedback.
No, that's something totally different right there.
Hi,
No,
gang.
that's
It's
something
Danielle.
totally different right there.
That's probably Danielle. Hey,
That's
Danielle.
probably Danielle.
Yep, that's Danielle. So sorry, Danielle. I just muted you out. You're probably saying hello back to us. I will unmute your phone as well when we get to that point in time. So, guys, here we are. It's week number 10, and I hope everybody had an awesome Thanksgiving, and the holiday season is now officially upon us, and a part of it is now done. So today's session, we're going to talk about the art of promoting and the skill of taprooting. And it's really effectively promoting and utilizing events and how to taproot within your organization. So it's a key. These are two very very key topics to building a long-term sustainable business. And a little overview of the agenda for today is I want to recap first and foremost a little bit of last week's homework assignment. I got back some excellent hand-ins from folks, and I want to have a brief conversation about that, and really have a discussion about some of the various processes that people came up with. Also, I want to, before I go away to California next week, I want to schedule, today or tomorrow, I want to schedule 30-minute one-on-one coaching calls with each of you guys as we kind of wrap up here towards the end of root camp. So it'll probably be something between now and the end of the year, or between now and Christmas time. But I want to make sure that we schedule a 30-minute call just to get caught up and have a private conversation. This will be the second private coaching call that we'll have together, obviously in addition to all the one-on-one calls that we've had otherwise. And we're going to talk a little bit about personal development and Date with Destiny coming up. I'm going to share with you a little bit about that. Then we're going to jump right into the art of promotion and some of the upcoming events that I think are very important for you guys to be aware of. And I'm going to give you a heads up on something at midnight tonight, the UPW. And then we're going to talk about the skill of taprooting, and then we'll discuss some of the homework as well. So again, it's hard to believe, guys. The momentum just builds upon itself, and here we are in week number 10, and we only have a couple more weeks left. I'm going to be out of town on next Monday, but I'm going to have some of our fellow root campers are going to fill in and help run the next session on the 5 core beliefs. What are they and why do they matter? And the last one is really developing leadership within your team. And we'll talk about kind of where do you go from here after now this root camp is going to be completed right before the holiday. The question becomes is what's the next best step, and how do you take a lot of what we've learned? Because I mean, guys, when you look back at this list here, we've covered a tremendous amount of information. From time management and productivity stuff to becoming a talent scout, being able to recruit up versus sponsoring down, how to conduct a successful home meeting and/or webinar, ad-libbing being for amateurs, being a professional, kind of going pro, as Eric Worre likes to say, using third-party tools to validate and grow your business. That's the Brilliant Compensation video. That's the Randy Gage video on Check Out the Biz. There's some great third-party tools in addition to that. And then we also have, we talked about the personal customer communication campaign and, staying in touch with customers and getting referrals, because guys, ultimately customers lead to associates and associates lead back to more customers. That's just the name of the game. We talked about cold market prospecting, the names after your initial list and how do you kind of keep that pipeline filled up and get them started right. This was the last week's assignment, which was how do you get a new associate started correctly? And we went through some of the exercise of that. So again, that's really why I wanted to schedule the one-on-one call. I don't want to go through everybody's spreadsheets and everybody's information on this particular call. We don't have time for it, but guys, when you look back at what you've covered in the last 9 weeks, you should just give yourselves a big round of applause. And I literally encourage you to stand up right now. Again, I know you're all sitting down, and if anybody's multitasking, by the way, either get off the call or just stop multitasking. If there's something else that you need to do that won't allow you to be present on this call, then don't try to confuse yourself. But when you're here and when you're on a call like this or any other call for that matter, Bob Q's call, leadership call, it's one of the hardest things that I have to deal with myself as well. But you have all sorts of pads around you, and you have your email and your inbox, and the tendency of wanting to get distracted and doing something else while you're here, you're going to miss out on something just by not being present. So stand up, guys. Stand up again. We're going to get into that whole physicality perspective. So Rand and Sandy, this is going to be, again, especially awkward for you, but everybody needs to jump up and down, 10 times, and jump up and down. Jump 10 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want you guys to put your hands in the sky, reach them as high as you can reach them, go on your tippy toes, and smile as big as you can. So get up there, shake your arms down to the side now, and put your shoulders back, your chest up, and just move your arms around a little bit. So and smile as big as you possibly can. So guys, that's the physicality that you want to operate from. And when you're on this call here and you're doing really anything else that you're doing, it kind of starts with that. And so I want to kind of go into, first and foremost, just some of your guys' thoughts from the homework assignment that you went through last week, which was maybe for the first time ever, putting together your own schedule of how to get a new associate started right in the first day, 2 days, week, month, 2 months, 3 months. So before I start calling on anybody or just having it a free-for-all, if you want to volunteer, just put your name in the chat box and say yes, and I'll just call on you and I'll unmute your phone. And whoever wants to share a little bit more about how their experience was in the last week, what did you discover? What was invaluable for you? What were some challenges that you encountered? What did you like? What didn't you like? And that kind of stuff. So who in the chat box wants to be our first volunteer?
Okay. It's really tough.
Okay, so Rand, fire
Yes.
away.
Well, I found it to be one of the most challenging homework assignments we had for the whole seminar, and I brought together what I knew from other things that I had done, which I explained to you in a note about putting together curriculi, seminar discussions, etc. And I started out with basically a 4-week run, and used the outline from the First Things First, and just pretty much followed that along. And then once I'd gotten through the first 30 days, really started to repeat that cycle over and over again. But to say, and to bring in some special things like, for example, having at least once a week at one of our meetings, have one of the upscale people, upline people come in and be there for the discussion and for the evaluation. Do a lot more role play. I put a lot of role play into this whole thing, to kind of get people to be to get them to be comfortable, in their own skin, but also to become comfortable with the material. And I know that because that's one of the things that I'm continuing to try to do, is to become comfortable with the material in my own skin, and to so familiarize myself with it that it's a second nature as any other thing I've done for so long that I can just get up and talk about it. I don't want to take up a lot more time, but that's basically it. I think it was laid out in the first 4 weeks, and then there was a kind of repetition from there that I thought was following a fairly decent pattern.
Excellent. And I know it's it's a more interesting process, or I should say, a different process for somebody who's newer, who doesn't have a lot of quote unquote, folks in their downline yet to go through, versus somebody who's been in this business for a while and perhaps never really had a roadmap to follow for new people they brought on board. So it probably is a different experience for folks like you, Rand, who are newer, and but all in all, I think you'll have a leg up just by even thinking through some of this stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
then being able to compare notes to your upline, with Sandy and Maurice and anybody else, that you guys can share some of your experiences together, and see maybe there's something that you thought of that they didn't, or something they thought of that you didn't, and it's a great
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to get together, with your up team, and talk about the assignment, because ultimately, you guys each have your own teams. It's a volunteer army, as they always say. So
Mm-hmm.
so excellent. Well, thanks for the share.
Well, you're
Who
welcome.
else that's on here would like to share what their experience was like? Maybe just put your name in the chat box down below and say, I will. Okay. The Sandy Rand combo, and then we'll go right to Bobby Leach. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I
Sandy.
figured as long as you've got my line unmuted at the moment. What I thought was the most useful of all of this was just organizing it. It almost didn't matter what order it was in to start off. The important thing was organizing it, because as I go along, I can always change the order if I find the order to be less useful, if I find things that should go before other things or something else. So that just the process of making a schedule was very, very useful for me.
Excellent. Excellent. And what about that gave you a sense of value, Sandy?
Well, it's a question of we always say don't reinvent the wheel. So this schedule was sort of my wheel, and now I don't have to reinvent it with every new associate. I have something that I can start with. It takes a lot of stress and thinking off the beginning. I know first thing I do is I sign the person up, and then we immediately have a first training session, and I've written down what it is that I want to include in that first training session, and then I make sure that they do Viridian University, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The important thing is that when I have somebody who's a prospect and who's interested in signing up, all I have to do is take out the schedule, and I know exactly what to do. It's like my wedding officiant business, that I have a list of everything that has to be taken care of, and that saves a lot of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great, great. Well, I'm glad that it was helpful in the organizational side of it. And
Yeah.
uh, quick question for you, and also for everybody else. Um,
Mhm.
what now? You guys all each worked on this and the creation of what you felt was a great, 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day communication game plan, or
Yep.
it goes even beyond just communication. This is really for everybody. What do you think the value is, or the pros and the cons of everybody having a different 30, 60, 90-day process versus taking all the data from everybody's stuff and kind of looking at what the common threads are and creating as a team, what we all feel pretty comfortable with as a strategy, a 30, 60, 90-day strategy. I'm just curious to hear some of your guys'
Yeah.
thoughts on everybody having a different one versus collectively as a.
Whoops, we lost you.
Mm. I'm going with diversity.
Still not?
Oh yeah, we got you.
Okay, good. Whew.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I know that I would love to see what everybody came up with as a way of informing my own list. I think the reason I think it would be both very good to have sort of a standardized thing and good to have your own because everybody has a different personality and there are things that because of our different personalities, we find work better with our associates. And you also have to always make an accommodation for the personality of the associate that you're working with. But I would love to see what everybody else came up with because I'd love to know what it is that I'm missing.
So do you want me to make that available for people?
Oh, yeah.
Other
That'd
folks
be
stuff.
great.
Okay, I'll try to do that. And I'm also trying to figure out how to get this little. There we go. It's off the screen. Okay, awesome, awesome. So let me unmute you, Bobby Leach. And are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, great. So go ahead and share with us what you felt as well. And by the way, Bobby,
Well,
are you calling in on a phone or are you using your computer
I'm on a computer.
as your microphone and speaker?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. That's why there's some
Well,
feedback. But no problems. Go ahead.
first off, the exercise was great. It really brought to light the process in engaging a new associate. And the process could be 30 days for a particular associate, and it could run as long as 90 days with others. Uh, Really, it depends on them and their level of engagement. What I thought was particularly interesting um, was the Bob Q 2 hour recording. As I re-listened to that, I remember being on that call when he initially had it, and he really ties together um, a lot of the elements from the first things first videos to the duplicate process to the training of sitting down with a new associate and doing calls and um, mapping it all out. So it's kind of a really strong review of the entire process, just that 2 hour call. And that was intriguing to me. Again, I think it's the prospect or the new associate's own level of engagement in terms of whether it's a 30 or a 90-day process. But bringing to light some of the different points, participating in phone calls with that new prospect I now put into my process that I haven't done previously. So I thought it was great.
Excellent, excellent. That's great. Is there anybody else that wants to share what their experience was like? One last person. Okay, good. We're all set then. Um, so let me mute the phone out of here again. Okay, so let's move right on here. One of the things I wanted to talk about was a program that I'm going to be at next week, just so you guys know, and it's called Date with Destiny. Now this is a 1 week program that from at least what I hear from Tony Robbins, at least at the last event we went to called Unleash the Power Within. Unleash the Power Within was probably one of the most incredible experiences I've had in my life, and he said that Date with Destiny makes the Unleash the Power Within look like kindergarten. And in any event, you know, while I was at this event, I made some big decisions, guys. One was I signed up for a coaching program. It was a 6 month coaching program, and it's $2,600 for a 6 month coaching program with one of Tony Robbins' personal coaches. I've had 3 sessions right now with this guy Fred West, and it has been worth the money already, and we're only in the first month. And it's one of the most extraordinary investments that I made. But I'll tell you a story as to how I bought this and why I bought it. And I'll make it quick. But we had the first day we were there, it was Thursday, and we spent hours and hours and hours just going through the orientation of stuff. And then really he was prepping us for this fire walk that we had, where we walked on burning coals. And when you put it in comparison, a stove is about 675 degrees. And if you ever put your hand on a stove and you've burnt your hand, you know how hot it is and how quick it takes to burn, your skin. Well, the coals that they have are between 1300 and 2000 or 2400 degrees. So it's about 2 to 4 times as hot as a burning stove, and you have your full body weight that's walking across about 10 or 12 feet worth of hot burning coals. Now you might think right now as you're sitting here that you would never be able to do it and you'd never want to do it. And in fact, there was a lot of people who were there on Thursday that had committed to not going on the fire walk. And almost, I think every single person, every 5,000 person almost did it. And nobody got hurt, nobody got burned, and it was fascinating. So then we're there all day Friday, and at that point we're building out our life. And we had these workbooks, these spiral bound workbooks that are about an inch thick, and inside of it were blank spots that were kind of fill in the blanks from everything that the weekend consisted of. So every teaching that Tony has, it's like every presentation and every part consolidated down to this like 1 inch thick spiral bound workbook that we got, and it became like the thing that you held on to, and you wrote down, all your stuff, all your junk in your life, all the things that are great, the things that you need to work on. You're building out your kind of like your whole life plan. So I get home on Friday night, and I look in my bag, and we were there till probably 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning most nights. So it was all day, all night, and it was and you didn't get tired. I mean, ironically, you didn't get tired at all, and it was just powerful, powerful stuff. So I get home, and I realized that my book is not in my bag. And I had just spent all day mapping out like my goals and dreams and all this stuff, and I'm like, what? It can't be. And so I'm like, did I leave that on my chair? Like, oh my gosh. And you change seats almost every day. So next morning, I'm like, my state was totally rocked, and I'm like, man. So I'm driving there, and I'm a few minutes late now because I'm all flustered, and I'm hoping that maybe it's at the customer service, somebody, the lost and found, or perhaps somebody just, they cleaned up everything on the floor and whatnot, but they left the book on the chair and it'll be there when I get there. So I get there, and my book is nowhere to be found. And I go to the customer service place, and nothing. And I'm like, and for the first hour or two of that day, I was so not present to anything that was going on because my brain was so inundated with thoughts about this book. And I'm like, man, maybe these dreams weren't supposed to come true. My book is gone. So maybe that's just like a way like God's talking to me maybe, and like now everything I wrote down yesterday is now for naught. Like this is crazy, and my head was like spinning. And I'm going back and forth to the customer service booth, the lost and found booth, every like half an hour. They kept saying, "Well, check back in, check back in." And the worst part is that they had no extra booklets. They'd already given out like 150 or 200 people who lost their booklets already the day before, the 2 days before, and now it's Saturday, and we have Saturday and Sunday, and they have no books left. So I'm just in my chair, and I'm trying to be present. I'm trying to go through all this different stuff, and finally, by my fifth trip back to the Lost and Found, they're like, "Dude, there's no book here. Like it's just not here. It's not coming. I don't know what else to tell you. Like there's no more books, and we don't have yours, and I'm sorry, And I'm just like, I was so distraught. And the day before, they had told us that you can sit down for like a private 30-minute coaching consultation and see if coaching is something that makes sense for you. So I'm walking back to my seat after this last chance, at the Lost and Found booth, and I see the coaching booth over there on the side, and I'm like, you know what? I got to get my mind off this whole thing. I'm gonna go just sit down and just talk to this guy about this coaching thing. And anyway, I get a free private 30-minute consultation. So we start sitting down and talking about, if I've done coaching before, and if so, what was it like? And I started telling him about my businesses and so on and so forth. And then finally, I get to the point where I just said, you know what? What I need the most help with right now is I explained to him the whole situation of losing my book and not being present for this seminar for the first hour or two today, and just being all flustered. And I said that there's no rhyme or reason as to why I should be this frazzled about losing a workbook. And I'm sure that there's some coaching that I could benefit from. I always benefit from coaching. I love coaching, but I'm sure that from a emotional balance perspective, like this shouldn't be rocking me to the core as much as it is. But I almost seemingly cannot focus on the rest of the seminar this weekend because I lost my book, and that's just there's got to be something going on I need coaching, but I also need coaching for other stuff in my businesses, and we all have blind spots and so on. Anyway, I had no intentions of signing up for coaching, and I leave that session, this little 20-minute sit-down session, and I bought a 6-month coaching package for $2,600. And I'm walking back to my seat. I'm like, what did I just do? I'm like, did I just really buy a 6-month coaching program right now? And I don't have that kind of money, floating around, and so whatever. I can make the stretch, and I can make it happen. But so long story short, about a half an hour to an hour later, I'm back in my seat, and I'm in a little bit of a different state because I had just taken action on something. So I'm starting to think more about that and more positively about stuff and trying to get myself back in the frame of mind that I was in the day before. But all I had was these like 10 sheets of white paper, white computer printer paper, not even line paper. They gave me paper to write on. And the workbook was like I'm like, oh man, I really wish I had my workbook. So an hour after I signed up for coaching, I looked down and we're doing one of our dances and jumps around and whatever. And I looked down in my bag to go grab a granola bar because we had to bring our own food. And I opened my bag up and I look down and I see this spiral bound notebook in my bag. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that's my workbook. And lo and behold, my workbook was in my bag, in one of the pockets I had not looked at the night before, all day the next day, for 2 hours that morning, and somehow after I bought coaching, my workbook shows up in my bag, like just sitting there front and center. And it was just I started going crazy. It was a complete 180 shift, and I really do attribute it. I may have found it later on. I don't even know if it just miraculously showed up there, or maybe I just overlooked it for a day and a half or 2 days, which obviously is what happened. But somehow it showed up because I was able to. I was in a different place. Anyway, that's a long story short. But and then by the end of the Saturday going into Sunday, they were making this offering for this thing referred to as Master University, and you can see on the far right hand side here, if you pay in full, it was a $9,900 package, and they compare this basically to to thinking about formal education for a second, and how much money we all spend, whether it's $150,000 to $250,000 that people spend on formal education, never mind an MBA or a doctorate degree or a PhD or a master's program, anything else like that. And they don't teach you really anything in formal education. Not that I have anything against it, because I think it's invaluable and it's necessary, but it doesn't teach you anything about how to live and thrive in this world, financially, emotionally, physically, relationships, and so on. So, I was kind of hook. I was just hook, line, and sinker, sold out on Anthony Robbins and what he was teaching. So I ended up buying this program. They were giving us a special discount for $8,900. And I'm not showing this to you guys just to say, look at me. I'm showing this to you guys to show you the commitment level that I'm making, in my life, for myself and for my own personal development, for the upcoming year. And of course, some of you guys are going to benefit from that, but you're never going to benefit from it fully, coming from me as you would from coming from yourself. And I'm not saying that you have to go sign up for Master University or coaching or anything like that, but I'm just showing you that, I'm not talking about stuff that I'm not willing to do myself. And I'm making some bold investments into my life and into my future right now. And so I don't ask people to go to places I'm not willing to go to myself. I don't tell people to do things that I don't do. And long story short, this is where I'm going. I'm going with Date with Destiny. That's the first thing on the sheet here. It was either this December or next December. And in every other situation I've ever had, guys, I didn't have the money, but I figured out a way to make it work. And I'll just talk to you about that in a second. So what I want to do is I want to let's see here. I want to put this this link in the link box over on the chat box there, and we're gonna take the next few minutes here. I just want you guys to get a sense as to the kind of stuff that this entails. So I'm gonna send you this link over there, and let's take a few minutes now, take 5 minutes, and watch this link, and then we'll come back when this link is done. So just go to your internet right now. You can paste that into your browser in your URL, and this is what should show up there. And just go in there and watch this for a few minutes here. I think it's how long is this? 6 minutes, I believe.
Date with Destiny is that program I described this morning.
Okay, so guys, come back in 8 minutes, and then I'll put this on mute, and we'll watch it together, and then we'll come back in 8 minutes.
When I was talking about Dickens, and I talked about going to Fiji, and I had that process of coming up with that process. Well, I turned that into a 5.5 day process. That what Date with Destiny does is it basically, we worked our tail off here. You got to use a lot of physical energy to deal with your beliefs. Your values, you'll never get through with physical energy. You have to know, it's almost like a puzzle. You have to know exactly what thing triggers what feeling, triggers what emotion. And until you know that, you're at the effect of everything in your life. What Date with Destiny does is it helps you get a plan for your life. Not a plan like scribbling it out, I have to live a certain way, but you begin to see how to take the different parts of you that have inner conflicts and align those parts so you're pulled exactly where you want to go. It is by far the most powerful thing I do, bar none. Now, when I'm doing Life Mastery, I think that's the most powerful one because it covers all the subjects in your life. But Date with Destiny is unbelievable. And the experience in those 5.5 days is like nothing you've experienced in your life because you're going to discover and basically learn how to trigger everything that controls every thought, every feeling, emotion in your life. And after about 4.5 days of doing this, where you now have complete mastery over your own life, then we bring in intimate relationship into it. Because what happens is, you get somebody that really has problems, and they put them with somebody else who loves them, who also have problems, you got big problems. Once you got yourself wired, now you can figure out how to create a relationship at the level you want. And I don't mean relationship where there's just love. I'm talking about love and passion. Remember when we talked about this the other day? I said, think about a relationship where you have unbelievable love for this person, and you constantly are starving, hungry for each other intimately as well. Make the sound of what that sounds like in your body when you have love and passion. Go nice and loud, come on. Oh, come on, has it been that long? Make the sound of a relationship where there's lots of love but not enough passion. Make that sound. See, when you talk about a relationship with love but not enough passion, it doesn't seem like that big a deal. But sound is a great way to calibrate what's really happening in your nervous system. What I found in my life for years, I had a relationship with someone who was a great lady, and we had tons of love, but very little passion, and I wanted more passion. But I didn't understand what the triggers were. I didn't understand the differences in values and rules. I didn't know how to shift anything. Nobody teach you this. And so I'd be in this experience where it's like, wow, you know, I remember being on stage vividly in a room that would have been my ultimate years before. It was at the Continental Center in New York City. There were 13,000 people in the room, 12,000 something hundred, almost 13,000 people. And I was doing my gig, and we were rocking. Like what we're doing here with 5,000, imagine 13,000. And we were going full tilt with a level of intensity. It was unbelievable, and people were out of their mind. And during one of the stretch breaks, one of my partners came up and told me my company had gone public that morning, and that's the morning where my stock alone was worth $400 million. So he goes, Tony, you just made $400 million this morning while you're doing what you love. I was like, shit, good morning. You know, it was a great morning. But you know what was interesting? It was really great. It was like, wow, that's wonderful. And then what I really want to do is get right back into what I loved. It didn't, like it was a cool thing, but it didn't change my life. But the biggest thing is the end of that night, I'm connecting people, high-fiving, signing, hugging people, and it's just a beautiful day. And I get home, and I'd made $400 million. I've been with almost 13,000 people. I'd done what I loved. I was on fire and alive, and I went home, and I was miserable. Because when I went home, the person I was with wanted me to be something different than what I was. Kind of like, that's why I understood Sarah May. Sarah May was trying to be something she thinks people want or people are expecting from her, but it's not her. So the person I was in a relationship with when she met me, is like, God, he's unbelievable. He's this powerful force of nature. He can shake a building with people and move people. And then it was like, why are you so fucking loud? I was like, loud? This is me. Right? And so what I learned to do was be something different that I really wasn't. And so when you're being something you're not, you're miserable. Who knows what I'm talking about here? Say I. And I'm such a lover. I love people. I never want somebody to not be happy. So I would always sacrifice everything to try to make somebody happy, but by not being who I was. There was nothing wrong with her. I was just miserable because I didn't understand the game. When I finally figured this process out, and by the way, guess how I did it? I interviewed people. I had a couple guy was 92, woman's 89, came to my Date with Destiny seminar, and these two were physically all over each other all the time. I mean, so much so it was like, get a room. I mean, this is hard to watch, right? And everybody in the whole seminar noticed it, so I finally brought them on stage and interviewed them. Shit, they're young punks in their 60s. So I bring this 92-year-old man, this 89-year-old woman up, and I said, I got to interview you guys. So I'm interviewing them. I said to him, I said, tell me something. I said, you two seem to not just love each other, you love each other. And they went, oh yeah. I mean, you're rather physical, aren't you? They said, oh yes, we love to be together. I said, and you guys have intimate relations? Oh yes, every day. Every day? Sometimes several times a day, the woman says. No exaggeration. And they were so adorable, and they were all of each other, hugging each other, grabbing each other, touching each other. And I said to them, I said, okay, there are a lot of people that think when you're together 3, 4, 5, 10 years, there's nothing new. They said, nothing new. They just aren't being flexible enough. They're not trying new things. I said, well, tell me something. What's your belief about, how do you stay intimate? The woman says, well, you can't just talk. You got to touch. And she said, touch lots of things. And she's so adorable. And so I said, so you guys have this passion all the time? Yeah. And I said, what's your belief? And he said, well, we believe that it's never boring because we believe there's nothing ugly between two people who love each other, nothing dirty between two people who love each other. She said, yeah, here's our rule. We try anything once, and if we like it, we do it again. So I spent 5 years interviewing people who've been together 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they don't just have love, they have passion. They're not hanging out, they love each other, and it changed the game for me. And the biggest change in my life, I would give up everything in my life without no exaggeration, no hyperbole, everything I've ever learned, everything I've ever done for the relationship I have with my sage. She has been I'd die for this woman, no exaggeration, but I couldn't have gotten to that place if I hadn't been through all those other places first. And the gift that I've got in that area is a gift you deserve. And anybody can have it. You could be with somebody together for 10 years and you could reignite it because you just didn't know the triggers. Or some of you may find that you're in a relationship where truthfully you are nothing in common. You're just scared shitless to end it because you're afraid of being alone. But there's a way to do this in a way where things can be not only elegant, but you can be free and you can bring to your life what you deserve. I tell people one thing. If you're not happy in your intimate relationship, you're not fucking happy. Because I don't give a shit how hard you work. I don't care how much money you make, how many trophies you get. In the end, if you don't have that aliveness and passion, a part of you is dead inside. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I got to tell you something. Some of you may have seen some of the films of the people I've turned around who hate each other, want to kill each other, been together forever, have no attraction. And we don't just change them in that moment. We follow up. You see them a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later. They never go back because we rewire it. Let me tell you about Date with Destiny. Here's what I'll tell you. Go. Go. If you trust me at all, if I did not betray your trust here, tell you, go. And it's the last time I'm doing it in Australia. So don't miss out on this piece. Date with Destiny, mark it down, make it happen. That's number one, okay?
Okay, guys, is everybody done? Is everybody pretty much done?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I'll tell you. It's funny, you listen to him, and he's got some foul mouth and all that kind of jazz, and I'll talk about that in a second. But in any event, I'll let you guys know how Date with Destiny goes because it's going to be something I have no idea what to expect, quite honestly. So let's talk about the art of promotion, and that's really the topic at hand here. And we're going to talk about the art of promotion and the skill of taprooting. Now, the first question is, in chat, and put this in the chat box, just type in your answer here. What would you guys say? Excuse me. What would you guys say is the difference between promoting an event and announcing an event? So just chat in the chat box there. Put in what you guys believe the difference is between promoting an event and announcing an event, and then I'll read through some of the answers um, when we get them all in there. Okay, so I have one from Cameron, Russ, Sandy, Maurice, and Danielle. Okay, so so let's just start. Danielle, I'm going to unmute you for a second. Just explain. You put down here excitement and follow up. Nope, next one's Maurice. So explain excitement and follow up, the difference between promoting and announcing.
Well, both of those were about, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have headphones on, so I wasn't sure if it was affecting the microphone. Um, Announcing an event is just that. You know, you send it out to your list or you tell people. Promotion, so the two things I wrote down were about promotion. And one is that you have to have genuine excitement about it in order to promote it. So that's the state that you need to be in order to do it sincerely and effectively. And the other is just that it takes follow up. It takes, you know, calling people, reminding them, and as Sandy was saying in the box, you know, doing everything you can to get the people in the room.
Absolutely. I'll offer one piece on top of that. The excitement's definitely there. I would say that one of the major differences between promoting and announcing is the level of commitment that you get up front, and going about getting a level of commitment, which means that there should be less follow-up that's involved or required when you get a key leader or prospect, you know, because of how you promote it versus announcing it, that would garner a deeper level of respect and commitment to the event itself. So, but both of those things that you mentioned are extremely important. But there are some ways to tighten up the promotion of it to get a more solid commitment, and to get people committed to doing something and being there, and that way you're not gonna not never follow up. You just might not have to do as much of it, okay, or as often. So otherwise, those are
That would be nice.
two excellent things there. Yeah, right. So Maurice, let me. I think you muted yourself there, but you mentioned belief, and if you want to elaborate on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think Danielle's exactly right. I think that we talk a lot about the difference being sharing information via something like an email versus actually talking to someone and sharing your belief with them. And that's true, but I think the biggest difference between promoting and announcing is your belief level and, you know, lending your belief to other people and you know, just showing your enthusiasm and um, you know, your commitment and your belief and sharing that with others, um, and to, you know, to with the objective being that you're doing something that's in their best interest versus trying to convince them or sell them something.
Excellent. Now, when you guys are referring to promoting or announcing events, are you referring to your team or to prospects?
Either.
Yeah, I don't really think it matters.
Okay. Would you promote the event the same way to a prospect versus an associate?
Yeah, generally speaking, I mean, they might get something different out of it, but I mean, I think in both situations, you're lending your belief.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Um, let's see who is next here. Thanks, Maurice. Sandy, you put down promoting means doing everything you can to get people there. So elaborate on that just for a second.
Well, when you make an announcement, you're just sort of, it's like putting up an advertisement on a wall. It doesn't have anything personal about it. Um, uh, if nothing else, if you put up a poster on a wall, you have to stand in front of it and say, look at this. See, look at this poster. Look at this great thing that's going to happen. And then you go out and you get people to come in and look at the poster, and then you convince them to go to the event. You know, you just have to, just making an announcement doesn't achieve anything because we're bombarded with announcements all the time. Advertisements are announcements. There's a big difference between promoting, which is a personal thing, and announcing, which is an impersonal thing.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Personal versus impersonal. Great. Let's go down to Russ. You said no one likes announcements. I agree with that. So why don't you elaborate on that for a minute?
Definitely. Just like what Sandra said earlier, like the billboard ads, they're so plain, and we all see them. And you know, by promoting events, it's letting people know, hey, I'm going to this thing, and it's really exciting. You know, there's all these great speakers. That's you definitely bring a lot of belief, just like what Marie said, and a lot of excitement and you have to be believable. So I definitely agree with that.
Excellent. Excellent. Good job. And then I see Cameron down here. Genuine belief that the event is something that you believe in is promotion. Elaborate on that, Cam.
Yeah, basically, if you believe in something, the majority of the time you're going to promote it and instill that belief in others, regardless of what it is. It could be a sales, it could be promoting a party, it could be promoting a cause. You're going to get yourself behind that more than you are just something that you don't. If you're just announcing something, it's almost as if you're expecting your audience to just already be listening as to what you're saying. I believe that if you really look at commercial advertisements, a lot of the things that they do now is they announce because their brand is already out there. But if they don't already have a brand awareness in the marketplace, they need to show and promote that that brand is something valuable and it has a certain kind of value to it. So I'm a believer that you have to first be able to prove that you're not only genuine, but that whatever product or whatever cause you're promoting is of a genuine intent before you can just start announcing things. So that's why I said that.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. And Dennis, you said trying to sell the event and just talking about it. Elaborate on that for a minute. I think you muted your own line there, so if you want to unmute your phone, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I said I think promoting is like trying to sell the event and, you know, talk a lot about it and kind of get it out there, and you kind of expect results back, whether it's positive or negative, like I want to come or I don't want to come. And you're kind of pushing the event into people. But when you're announcing something, I think that you're just saying all these great things about the event and what it is and what it's all about, and then you know, whoever responds to you, like I feel like by announcing it, you would get people who are really interested respond to, and those that are not interested, they will just continue with, you know, whatever they were doing. So that was my ideology.
Okay, excellent. And Bobby Leach, I think your phone is muted. I'll unmute it here. You put down announcing is telling someone about an event. Promoting is telling them why they will not want to miss the event. So elaborate on that for a second.
Well, just to go back to my own life, when we would promote a concert, just running a print ad or a radio spot would just be announcing an event. But promoting an event would be talking about an artist or talking about a guest speaker or what a particular associate would get out of attending that event. A la, Power Up. You're going to get the information from the Power Up meetings at the regionals afterwards, but you don't really experience or get the knowledge firsthand as you would as being there. And showing the prospect or your associate the difference between being at an event or getting the content from the event are sometimes two different things. You don't get the excitement of being there. You don't get the feedback from the audience or the other associates or prospects in the room. It's
Excellent.
two different things.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And who else
It's
was
like
down?
you can listen to a live recording, but being at the show that it was recorded at is a major difference.
Right.
The experience, is just not the same.
Absolutely. And then I see. Thanks, Bobby. And I see down here there's some other. Rand says investment. I guess that means having a vested interest, which is true. So another question here we're not going to go into as much depth on with sharing is what does an effective promotion of an event include or entail? So I'm not going to have each person share, but just type in the chat box, what does an effective promotion of an event include or entail? What would be some of the components of an effective promotion? So type in the chat box there. Okay. I'm still waiting for a few here. So put in the chat box there, what do you guys think makes an effective promotion of an event? What does that include or entail, an effective one? Okay, so I'll read through some of these here. So we've got, Sandy says, personal contact with people that you want there. Maurice says, speaking with someone on the phone or in person. Cameron says, to get your audience to know, like, and trust you enough to show up in an event. Danielle says, phone calls, reminders by Facebook chat or email. And also follow-up phone calls to people who sound interested. Sandy said also, from Rand, I should say, question and answer engagement. Russ says personal contact. Personal benefit of the experience, says Bobby Leach. Great, guys. Those are all very, very good ones. I'll give you a little cheat sheet, and this comes right from Big Al Schreiter that we learned. Cam and I bought a bunch of his CDs and discs and trainings and whatnot, and in one of them, here's the acronym that you want to write down in terms of not only when we're doing events, but also in terms of promoting events. Okay, so the acronym is TIP, T-I-P. Okay, so TIP stands for the topic. What are we going to be talking about tonight? Well, tonight we're going to be talking about ways that people can be financially free, or teaching people about ways to supplement their income, to be able to pay off debt or retire or pay for college. Or tonight we're going to be talking about a green energy business. If you come to this event on Thursday night, we're going to be talking about a way to get out of financial poverty and to live a life of time freedom. Whatever the topic is, that's what the T is. The I, is importance, okay, or interest. So, why is it important that they be there? What is it that's so important about the event? And then the last one is people that will be there, for example. So you can promote via this acronym of TIP, the topic at hand. Why is it important to you that they come, or why is it important for them that they come, and the people that are going to be there. Okay, so just remember that acronym. I think it can go a long way. It's very simple. It's very easy to remember. But becoming a world-class event promoter, um, the question really is why is this skill more powerful than any other? And the reason is that if you can get people to attend events, everything else gets easy. When somebody experiences an event, they find out more about the product or service. They hear about the financial opportunity. They meet other people who are having success. They witness the kind of support that's available. They feel the credibility of the company. They experience an atmosphere of hope and excitement. So it's no wonder that people who attend events do so much better than people who don't. I mean, if you hear this over and over and over again, then the question is, what can we be doing on a scale of 1 to 10 to be a better promoter? So let me ask you guys this. Um, on a scale of 1 to 9, or 1 to 10, 1 being horrible, 10 being world class, and I'm gonna show you two slides here first in terms of the art of promotion. But before you type in the chat box here, if you think about it, promoters, whether it's Donald King or Billy Graham or whoever, they promote it. Like for example, the Rumble in the Jungle or Thrilla in Manila. Don King made more money than every professional boxer combined, and all he did was promote events. But he got the best of the best of the best in a ring, and just got tons of people to come and want to watch. But that was even during a time when people could actually pay HBO or any other station or program for that matter, and try to get access to the same fight. And he understood the art of promotion, and it was all very personal relationship type of stuff. And now, when you think about promotion, one of the things I heard a lot from your guys' comments was having a belief and excitement. And I'd say that it would be virtually impossible to promote anything without those. So those are spot on. The one thing I didn't hear a lot of was number one is having a list of whether or not few events or more events makes sense, or secondly is a strategy and a game plan towards promoting events. Does somebody ever have a thought out game plan as to how they're going to promote events? Like I know one of the people who I think is the best in our network at doing this is Bob Quintana. And before he goes to a city to do an event, he'll actually have, I think 3 weeks in advance, he'll have a call with the top leaders for an hour, and they'll go through a preliminary promotional conference call, leadership conference call, to talk about the event that's coming up in 2 to 4 weeks. And so he'll establish a call first with the key leaders. Then they'll develop a game plan to deploy from that phone call. Then they'll touch base, a week and a half before the event, again, to see how everybody's doing, how all the leaders are doing. But he's disseminating the leadership, for the people who are supposedly running this event, quote unquote. And he's coming in there as a guest speaker, but he doesn't want his time to be for naught. But more importantly, he wants people who he's coming there for to be getting results. And if they get an extra associate out of that night, or an extra 2 or 3 or 4 associates out of that night, and they get some customers and some mentor bonuses and some fast start bonuses and so on, that person, their core belief is going to grow. And so Bob fundamentally knows that while he's leading the charge on putting these game plans together for folks for specific events that he's part of, that he's doing it both for his best interest but also for theirs. And he's there to really help bring people's game to the highest level possible. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is kind of knowing the events that are coming up in the calendar, knowing which ones you're going to be plugging into, and then having a game plan with either you and yourself or some key leaders on your team as to how you're going to effectively promote that game plan for that event. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like I'm really, wow, I've got a ton of work cut out for me, 10 being I'm already doing all that. How would you guys rate your promotion skills right now for events? Okay, so I see a 2. a 6, a 2, 5 to 6, 5, 6, 5.5. Okay, excellent, excellent. So some are doing a little bit better than they thought, and some are admittedly not doing as well as they want to be. But there's some great room for improvement, guys. So I'm going to give you a tool to kind of go through to be able to use. So just so you guys know of some upcoming events, and these are not all of them. I need to connect more with the Massachusetts folks and the New York folks about some of the events that are coming up, in those areas as well, because most of the stuff that I put out here is just the stuff at the Hyatt. So I really need to engage in some of the other markets, and I'll work with some of you leaders going into next year to be able to start promoting those events, much better. But what we do have is on December 12th coming up, which is next Thursday, we have Anthony Serino coming into Marstown as our guest speaker, our monthly guest speaker. Now, why is that important? Well, first of all, Anthony Serino has a real estate background. So here's my suggestion. I would contact any and every realtor that you know in the next week and a half to 2 weeks, and I would get them to Marstown. Anthony Serino's got 15,000 customers in his organization in 2 years. He's got 3 lines that have a partner stacked on top of a partner stacked on top of a partner. He has 2 lines where he's got partner, partner, partner. And he is on the verge of going platinum partner and then immediately to diamond partner within the next probably month to 3 months, depending on how a couple things shake out. But he's coming all the way down from Poughkeepsie, and he's going to be our guest speaker. He has one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing teams in the Viridian network right now. And I was just with him and Brian and Rayanne Nichols and Justin Phillips and Fred Stewart. They were all at this party on Saturday. My aunt and uncle, Jim Kenny and Lisa, had their 25th wedding anniversary, and these guys all came. But they have such camaraderie. Myra Burrows was there, Yvonne was there, Rose was there, just a lot of people from their team. But he is a great storyteller. He knows how to really bring people from thinking about certain things to making a decision, and he does it in such a way. I mean, guys, he's got 15,000 customers in his business in 24 months. I mean, there's something to be said for that. I also am going to be the guest speaker out in Chicago, Illinois. It's my first trip out to Chicago, and I'm going to be hitting that up on the tail end of coming back from Date with Destiny on the 8th through the 13th, and I'm going to be in Chicago that weekend. So if you guys know anybody out there, go on the back office, and I think that Matt Johnson is putting that event up there either today or tomorrow. So if you know anybody out in that market, make sure you get them to that event. I'm not sure how far away the town I'll be in is from, Chicago, but December 16th is an event for that. And I am putting a home party on my calendar for the day after New Year's, which is January 2nd. It's going to be the day after New Year's. It's going to be the day before the leadership retreat. And I'm putting a home meeting together here. So anybody who's local that wants to come and be part of that, I would love to have you guys here. And my goal is to have about 10 to 15 new prospects that night. So it's going to be a pretty jam-packed place and going to be a lot of fun. And then, as you guys know, January 3rd through the 5th is the leadership retreat. Also, guys, just put in your calendars, January 11th is going to be the Super Saturday in Woodbridge. There's going to be we're going to be guessing somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people at that event. So you definitely want to put that in your calendar. There's also going to be a Super Saturday training that same day in Massachusetts. So all those folks that are up there. But here's some upcoming dates. And guys, there's plenty of other ones that are in between here, whether it's going to be stuff in New York or Massachusetts. But you want to know what some of these big events are, and you want to put them into your calendar. And then you want to basically take each event and be able to piggyback and promote the next event at an event. So you want to be able to use the event to do your marketing, to be able to promote it for the next thing that's going on the table. So if, for example, if you have people come to the 12th of December, you want to piggyback that into the next type of thing. Or if they come into the meeting on January 11th, you want to have that piggyback onto the next meeting. So I think that we've got, I'll have to look it up in our calendar, but we have January through June built out for our meetings here in Marstown with guest speakers all the way from, I think Myra Burrows is coming down. I think we have Janice Pescatora. We have some females that are coming, which is going to be great. We have Johnny Lopresto doing one of our keynotes as a guest speaker and so on. So again, use each event as a piggyback, leapfrog, from the one to the next. It takes away a lot of legwork in between. So here's a sheet that's going to be on the website, and it's going to be it's a tool for you guys to use, and it's basically it's a promotional goal sheet. Now, what it basically has on it is this. I know it's a little bit small, but I'll blow up the actual document. So you put the event date in here, and you put the location of the event in here. So let's just say, for example, you have event date, December 12th in Morristown, New Jersey, right? So the first thing I ask for on this sheet here is the 5 big things I must do to move forward on this project, to move this project forward. So whatever it is, whether it's putting your list together of prospects or making call times or boom, 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 maybe drafting an email or a follow-up, or what are the 5 big things that you need to do to move this project forward, to move the promotional aspect of that event forward. And then by what date do you want to have those done by? This doesn't take much, guys. It's easy to kind of put out there. And then you're able to write in here, who are the associates that are coming from your team? Because you would know that because you've contacted them on a personal level and got them to commit to doing a sheet like this too. So you know who's coming to the event, and you know who's committed. And then you also can write in here, who are the guests that are coming. Okay, so when you're doing your work, and you can add more names in other areas of the sheet, but this just has lists for 5 and 5. And then down below is write what is your number one goal for this specific event, and it might be different. Like for example, the leadership retreat might be different than an overview meeting or a home meeting or something like that. So it's important to function at this capacity. And I did something very, very similar to almost exactly like this for the Power Up this past year. And one of my goals on that was to create the top 20 countdown videos. And I did do that. And I put together a goal sheet of how many associates I wanted to have at Power Up, and I hit that goal. But it was because I functioned on something very similar to this as a premise, which is, what are the 5 key things? Who are the people that are coming? And things of that nature. So if there's 3 big events coming up, you should always have 3 big events, on your docket that you're going to be promoting, and perhaps you don't do them all at the same time, but you use that leapfrog principle, and you want it. So this sheet's going to be on our website. Again, you can use for future type of for events and so on. So guys, one of the things I wanted to do before we get into the taprooting part is I was coming up with a list of some of the things. I couldn't think of all the things off the top of my head at the time I was doing this because I was doing a couple different projects. But just to give you guys an idea of some of the things that I've invested in over time. This is over the last probably 5 to 7 or 5 to 8 years. So one thing I invested in was landmark education. I did the landmark forum, which was a full weekend. I did the advanced course, which was a full weekend, and I started to do the self-expression leadership program, the SELP. That I think is a full 6-month program. I didn't do the full thing. I actually went through about 2 months of it, and then I had to move on. But each of those cost money and time and some travel for some of them. Performance Stream is when I hired a coach to do a strategic business plan. This is when I had no money, somehow found $5,000 to hire a coach to do a strategic business plan back in 2006, and that literally transformed and changed my life. I just knew that when Mark Cohen was talking and the things that he was talking about, I needed what he had to offer. And I just said, I got to figure out a way to make this work. And I did. Crest Consulting, I went through a 10-week leadership program that had 2 spiral-bound binders. I had to fill out probably 3 hours of homework every week for about 10 weeks. And I paid about $4,500 for that coaching program. Action Coach, which was it's an international consulting firm. I worked with this woman, Cheryl Ellis, for about a year. And I'm not even sure how much I paid in that. Probably a total of about $4,000 over time. Keep It Simple was a consultant I hired for some organizational type of stuff and skills. That's what she does. She's a professional there. Above and Beyond is an outsourcing firm that I've used for support and administrative support, and also some personal development type of lunch and learns they have at their offices. I think I spent probably about $12,000 on that over a 2-year period. Above and Beyond, John Maxwell, I went to an event of his. I went to an event called the Millionaire Mindset down in Florida, an event called the Communication Pro Workshop, which was a CD series. I went to the Danny Johnson event, just drove out there a couple months ago in Cincinnati, Ohio, and paid for my sister to come out there with me. Tony Robbins, most recently, went to that event. Shop to Earn, Shop to Earth, all their trainings and conventions. Viridian trainings and conventions, over 50 different trainings and conventions with Viridian over the last 3.5 years. I've been to probably 30 different spiritual retreats, including every year I go on a silent retreat for 3 days. I went to this thing called the Unbound Conference, Rachel's Vineyard, and dozens more. So I'm just saying to you guys this. Think about yourself right now and think about the personal development that you're pouring into your own life. What commitments and what sacrifices are you making, in your own life? What investments are you making in you? Because there's only three things that you can invest in that we've talked about before. The first thing is you can invest in, stocks and bonds in the market and so on. Well, we all know how volatile that is, and we know it's not a guarantee, but that's one thing we can invest in. There's no guaranteed return on your investment in that world. You can also invest into real estate investing. Now you have to be really good at knowing what to do so you can actually make money and you don't lose money. So there's no guarantee that investing in real estate is going to return your money, but people invest in real estate as well. These are both great things, by the way, but you have to have a lot of skill in order to do them and/or a lot of money to do them. But the third one that has a 100% guaranteed return on its investment always is the investment that you make in yourself. But ironically, it's the one thing that most people don't make any investments on, in themselves, or at least not any grand scale, and they wonder why their business isn't growing as fast as they want. And it's because guys, I don't tell you this list just to brag. I want to show you how much money and time I've spent investing in my own life and in learning about who I am and what I'm good at and what I'm weak at and where I'm strong and all that stuff. But I've spent probably $100,000 between travel and the events themselves over 10 years, in personal and professional development. And some of it was great and some of it wasn't as good, but I've learned stuff in every different aspect. Now, I want you guys to think about your life right now. And I want you to think about, the next 5 to 10 years. And if you think about, the average person who could go to 2 to 4 events per year, okay? And it's going to cost money. I get all that, right? But it's whether you have the money or you don't, it's irrelevant. If you don't have money, you need to go to events to learn how to get money. If you don't have good relationships, you have to go to events to figure out how to have good, thriving relationships. If your health isn't what you want it to be, you have to go to these different things to learn what is keeping you back from different things that you want in life. So if you went, let's just say, for example, you went to 4 events a year for 10 years. Okay, over 10 years, the difference between you having gone to 40 different events, and let's just say the average event costs about $500. Okay, so 40 events times $500 is about $20,000 that you've invested. Now, again, when you compare that to traditional education being between $150,000 and $300,000, if you spread over 10 years, 40 events, that's going to be a pretty sizable investment. But imagine where you would be in life after attending 40 events like this versus somebody else who didn't attend any, okay? Or what if somebody attended one a year for 10 years and they basically attended 10 different things, right? Their 10 versus your 40 means that you are 4 times greater in terms of your awareness and your growth probably than they are. So maybe you went from $10,000 to $100,000 because you went to one event a year, versus somebody else who went from 0 events to 4 events a year, and they're all of a sudden at $500,000, and that's going to be all exponential. So I just want to show this to you guys because I got an email yesterday, last week, from this woman who I work with at the Tony Robbins Foundation, and the next Unleash the Power Within event is actually going to be in Fort Lauderdale, and it's going to be in February. So this is the event reminder that we got. But basically, let me see if I can make this a little bit smaller here. So she said, we have some exciting news to share. As a valued client, I guess I'm considered a client now, you are entitled to our best priced tickets for Unleash the Power Within. You can buy a general admission ticket for $495 and get upgraded to VIP. That's a savings of $1,100 per person. I worked with Tony for over 10 years, and we've never had an offer this good. This expires on Monday, December 2nd, which is today. And this is only offered over the phone, so call Kelly at 858-535-6352 to get your tickets. We also have a buy 3 get 1 free admission. So this brings, if there was 3 tickets that were bought, that means 4 people can go, and that means the ticket price comes down to $370 per ticket. I wanted to get this information. I wanted to get you this information because we're forecasting a quick sellout for our UPW event. Tony Robbins is bringing his Unleash the Power Within program to the Fort Lauderdale area. Please forward this email to friends and family that would benefit from this experience of seeing Tony live. Answer one question. Answer this one question honestly. What other event or investment can you make that same weekend that could have as profound of an impact on your life, legacy, and relationships than spending 4 days with the world's #1 success coach? UPW will take place at the Greater Fort Lauderdale Broward County Convention Center on February 27th to March 2nd. Clearly, you're committed to living an extraordinary life. To help you get there, I've put together an offer you can't refuse or can't miss offer for you. Call Kelly Phillips at this number, but however, this offer expires soon. And so, guys, I'm just going to tell you, and I've been talking to Kelly a bunch because now that I'm in Tony Robbins, universe, we get these kinds of deals that are on the table. So, this is the kind of stuff that I'm telling you. If you're looking for a breakthrough in your life, I just saw a message that came through here from Russ that just said, I'm in. So Russ is in. Awesome, Russ. Good for you, man. Congratulations. You're going to have a blowout experience, and I'm excited for you. So now, guys, just kind of in the last part of this training here is the skill of taprooting. So taprooting is what this business is all about. Now, I'm not going to spend as much time on this because most of you don't have enough people in your organizations yet to taproot onto. But what this basically means is that you're going to be growing an organization where perhaps you sign up some people that are direct to you, and they may sign up somebody who's down here, right? And if you look at this little twig over here, this one didn't really go too far, right? Or this one over here, it just kind of stopped right here. But what about this person right here, right? They grew out this way, they grew out that way. This person grew out over here, over there, down here, down there, down here, down there, down here, down there, down there. This is a leader right here, right? This is a mini leader right here. Look at all those little tap roots out there. This is a leader right here. Look at all those little branches. This person right here, this is not a leader. This person right here, look at the size of that tap root. That's a huge little team. Huge little, that's an oxymoron. That's a huge team. How about this right here? This is a great taproot. So what's going to happen, guys, is taprooting is sometimes there's going to be some dead wood between you and this person that's going on, that's going crazy down below. So you have the ability to taproot, and you want to go to where there's smoke. Because here's the deal. If this was a building right here, right, and this building has floors on it, and this is floor 50, 49, 48, 47, all the way down, when you have smoke down here, that smoke goes all the way up. So when you build down in depth in your organization, not only is this person going to benefit from your leadership and your mentoring, but everybody else is going to feel the heat. Meaning that if all of a sudden, if one big leg starts to go crazy in somebody's business, the only way they can capitalize on it is to get going on another leg. So taprooting is a huge part of this business. Now, there's a sheet that we have, and I'll kind of read it off to you guys, and I'll put it in the back office as well. But top leaders are asked daily by their downstream, these important questions. Where do I work? Where should I be working today? Who do I work with? How do I effectively manage my time? And how long do I work with key leaders? So you should find 5 key leaders by enrolling as many as necessary in with. Now, if you have the 80-20 rule, right, you have 80% of your productivity comes from 20% of your people. So if you had to have 5 lines, you have to have somewhere between 5 power lines, 5 partner lines. You're going to ultimately have, this is for the person who wants to become, by the way, an ambassador or above. If you want to hit ambassador above, which I'm assuming some of you on this call do, some of you may not, guys. We get a little bit jaded sometimes talking about some of the numbers of, $100,000 a month or $200,000 a month. But keep in mind, guys, that an extra $500 a month is a significant amount of money, for a lot of folks. An extra $1,000 a month or $10,000 a year, it could go a long way. The average foreclosure last year in our country was due to a difference of about $500 per month. So let's just say that you want to make, $50,000 extra per year, okay? Then all you want to do is you want to find 5 people who are really interested in making an extra $10,000 a year. Okay, $10,000 a year divided by 12 months is $833 a month. So if you want to make $50,000 a year, you want to find 5 people who are really committed to making, $800 a month or $10,000 per year. And you can keep going up the number. If you want to make $1 million a year, you basically want to find either 10 people who want to make $100,000, right, or 20 people who want to make $50,000. And I love putting it in perspective like that because when you're talking to people, you say, listen, I'm looking for 10 people who are looking to make an extra $15,000 or extra $20,000 this year, working part time and building an asset for themselves. Would you happen to know or be, that person? So when you're taprooting, you should find 5 key leaders by enrolling as many as necessary in width. And when you develop 20 in depth, straight down a vertical leg, then within there you should be able to identify 3 key leaders in your organization. Now the taprooting chart that you'll see here, basically the taprooting chart and the key leader definition will help you simplify building your Viridian business by filling in the blanks when key leaders emerge until it's complete. Okay, so you need 5 organizations in width. Each organization contains a leader who wants to earn more than $10,000 a month, and each of these legs must be vertically backed up by 2 or more leaders who will have direct mentorship relationships with you. Okay, because you can't really have direct relationships with everybody, right? We know that there's not enough time in the day. So this will take probably 2 to 5 years to build, and once you've completed it, you will have empowered at least 15 people to become financially free forever. So that's the main goal, okay? Is you want to find 5 leaders, key leaders, right? By enrolling as many in depth as possible, and then you want to help them go down in depth as well. So you want to take a chart like this and fill in, who are those key people, for you in your business. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this right now because most of you on this call are not in a place where you're doing a whole lot of taprooting presently. Most of you are in a place where you need to start building out, frontline associates and start working with them. And the last thing I'll just basically say, I had this conversation with a couple of folks recently, but we were talking about it on Saturday at the party with Anthony Serino. I was talking to Myra and Yvonne. But I tell people, I describe the compensation plan that we have, which is broken down into 9 different ways that we pay out. I break that down basically into the following. Okay, so to give a story attached to it, right? To put give some word pictures to our comp plan that makes it kind of come to life a little bit. I want you to visualize this for a second. So yes, we pay out 9 different ways, but think about it this way. The first 3 ways that we pay out in the compensation plan, I refer to as injection income. Now think about standing there, right? And your arms and your forearms are out, they're facing out. Your fists are clenched, your arms are out to the sides, and your legs are strong. Now, injection income is like a little syringe that's going into your arm, okay? But instead of being poisonous or drug-induced or something bad for you, we're able to inject confidence, right? Or money. So every time I squeeze something in there, I'm going to put $50 or $100 or $200 or $500 into your veins, right? I'm going to pump that money into your veins. It's injection income. It's cash flow income. It's return on investment income. So every time you have the opportunity, every week or every month, to inject, $200 or $500 in your left arm, in your right arm, in your legs. Imagine if you were to inject $100 of cash flow into your right arm every week, $100 of cash flow into your left arm every week, into your bloodstream, into your veins, and $100 of cash flow into your left leg and your right leg every week. How strong would ultimately your body become, your veins become, if you're injecting? How confident would you be able to be? So the first 3 ways that we pay out in this compensation plan is referred to as kind of injection income. It's short term, it's kind of cash flow. It's designed to give you anywhere from $200 a month to $3,000 a month. Now the middle 3 ways that we pay out, I'll refer to as bridge income, right? So think about a chasm that's about, a mile deep, and it's about, 30 yards wide. And from one rock to the other rock, it's very difficult to jump, from one side to the other. And you probably, will die if you try to do it, which means that you'll fall down that mile chasm and it's all over. So bridge income is somewhere between, $2,000 a month and $10,000 a month. that's when people start to make some really serious and different decisions about their commitment level to a part-time gig, right? When you're making $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month, you have a very nice bridge that's been created, between those two chasms. And that's the middle three ways that we pay out in terms of income. Okay, the last three ways that we pay out is what I refer to as world-altering income, or life-changing income, or lifestyle income. Imagine being able to right now get your checkbook out, and you can actually get a pen out, your favorite pen, this new fountain pen you've got, and you're able to write a check out to your favorite charity for $100,000, okay, or your favorite cause for $10,000 around the holidays, or $20,000, or you're able to help somebody who's in need, or you're able to buy that boat you've always wanted, or a dream vacation for your family that costs $5,000 or $10,000. You want to take a few people with you, whatever it is. Maybe you want a new wardrobe of clothes, right? So that's life-altering type of income. Now, to put it in perspective, you will not see life-altering income for 5 years, okay? But it takes most people their whole life, and they'll never see it. Here we have a model that takes 5 years, and maybe and it's possible. The middle three ways we pay out, right? That bridge income, you won't even see any of that kind of income for at least between 1 and 3 years. We're talking about $2,000 to $10,000 a month. Okay, so the only thing that you can focus on, and the only thing that you can help a new person focus on, is that injection income, that short-term cash flow injection between $200 and $2,000 a month. And how do you do that? Well, you get mini rank advancement bonuses, you get promotions that the company puts out throughout the course of a year, you get fast start bonuses, and you get mentor bonuses. And also you're going to get access to the Creus revenue sharing pool. And you have to hit certain ranks to hit that, but you want to focus on short-term cash flow injection income while setting realistic expectations. So taprooting is not going to be as important again for most of you on this call right now, but the art of promotion is. So the homework assignment, guys, is this. The homework assignment is to take the sheet, okay, for the promotion of events sheet, and I want you to fill in 3 upcoming events that you are going to focus on and put in your calendar, and you're going to put a mini little game plan together to kind of promote for those 3 events. They don't have to be in the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It could be the next month or 2 months, but 3 events that you are going to be in on, right, that you're going to be at yourself, and you're going to put together a little bit of a game plan and a strategy, and fill out a sheet like that. That's going to be on the website that's there, and that's going to be one of the homework assignments. The other thing I'm going to mention here is again, the Unleash the Power Within is a life changer. And I'm just going to say this one last time before we wrap this call up. Let's just say, for example, you're 20 years old, okay, or you're 30 years old, or you're 50 years old, or you're 60 years old, or whatever you are, okay? I want you to ask yourself this question internally, or answer this question to yourself internally. Is there anything in life that you want more of that you don't have enough of? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, who's helping you get there that actually has tangible, quantifiable results that can help you get what you want? Who are your mentors? Not me, right? Who are you listening to in an intimate way who has a track record that's helping you get the results that you want? So number 1 is, is there anything in life that you want more of that you don't have enough of, or that you'd actually would like more of? And if so, what is it? Name it. And the third question is, if you had to tally up how much money you've spent on personal development in your life over the last 12 months, if the number is less than $3,000, then there's a reason as to why your life and your business aren't going to be growing. Forget Viridian for a second. Just life in general isn't going to be growing as much or as fast in the key areas that you want. So people can pretend that everything is great and fine, but the reality is that generally speaking, there is always something that we want a little bit more of that we don't have enough of, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's the ability to work on charitable causes or nonprofits or give back to a church or a synagogue or whatever. Again, time with friends and family or pursuing a hobby that you like. Maybe it's your clothes, your wardrobe, the car you drive, the vacations you can't take, relationships that you have or don't have. There's some area in our life, and when you look back at the list I showed you of the things I've plugged into, guys, I'm nowhere even remotely close to where I want to be in my life right now. I'm still funneling myself out of debt presently, but I've come a long way. And had I not gone to these different types of things, I probably would have crumbled and been excessively depressed as a human being. But I'm not, because I've just injected my veins with good people, good stuff, good learning, good tools, and it's the only reason I'm able to put together a program like this root camp. This doesn't come from me, guys. This comes from a collective amount of data that I've experienced, over the last decade. So this is not, Michael came up with this whole root camp. This is just a culmination of data that's come together. One of my skills is organizing stuff. So I'm going to basically just end it with this by saying that you've probably spent over the course of the last year $1,000, okay, on many things collectively that have not helped you get the results you're looking for or to have breakthroughs in your life that you're looking for. Okay, so whether it's a $495 ticket to unleash the power within, whether it's the airfare to get there, or whether it's the hotel for a couple of days if you share a room or not, it's probably going to cost you $750 all in. When I first went to these kinds of events, guys, I put them on my credit card. I didn't have the money, and I put it on my credit card and made it happen. So, if you really want something bad enough, this event is in February, and if you want to have a banner 2014, if you want to get rid of any of that stuff that's been holding you back and blocking you, from success, then that's an event that I want to encourage you guys to think about. You have till midnight tonight, to make that decision at a discounted rate. So, think about it, think really seriously about it, and then just ask yourself, what else are you investing in right now that potentially has the ability to help you get to where you want to go? I know Tony Robbins has helped over 4 million people at his live events. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you tonight, and I look forward to chatting with you. I probably won't be on there next week, so I'll be in California. And we will talk throughout the course of this week anyway. So take care, guys. Have a great night, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.